Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. I love these iced coffees. They're these monster drinks that are supposed to give you energy too. I don't really feel that part of it, but they are tasty. They are a good pick-me-up in the morning. Oh, Robin, good to see you. A sunny day in Wisconsin. Tara, great to see you. I appreciate your sweet messages. I really do. It's been frustrating lately. Maybe you're getting those undertones too. Tara definitely picked up on it and said some very nice things. Linda, great to see you. Sun is shining. Sun is shining here too, but you know what? Here comes the snow, boot and boot tomorrow. Tomorrow for us anyway. I hope it's not coming for you too. Because I say, it's not all right. I mean, it is all right. You get what you get and you don't get upset. But I kind of thought we were, I just thought we were there, making assumptions and more snow. So I'm going to bring my camera home so that I can still run coffee time tomorrow. And tomorrow night, I can't believe I've been forgetting to announce it. Karen, thank you for signing up. We had a bunch of people signed up from before. This is going to be something that I have to go into detail on, but tomorrow forgot to say, there's 2 Designing Like Pearl McGown classes, right? This is the theme of the month this month, Designing Like, different person each month. This month, Pearl McGown. So let's pause on that thought while I do my greetings, and then we'll come back to that because I have been all Pearl McGown because I kind of thought it was Sunday and next Wednesday, but it's actually Wednesday and next Sunday. So for those of you who are signed up, I will be sending that this afternoon/tonight. Right after I pick up the kids, I'll have the documents ready, and they will go out. And I will tell you more about that in just a minute, but it has been fun, and it is going to be good. So I'm excited. Mom, good to see you. Crazy wind here too. I opened the bathroom window after I took a shower because I thought, it was all steamy and crazy, and I thought, let's get a breeze going. And it was like almost like a vacuum, almost like Wizard of Oz kind of like, and it was suddenly ice cold in that room. I thought, whoa, there's some crazy weather stuff going on. Cheers, my dears. That's right. Cheers, my dears. Happy Women's Day. Tara just said it. Happy Women's Day to all of us who are women who are on. I still believe that it's a man's world 100%, but it is fun to be getting there, and it is fun to make our mark, and it is fun to celebrate each other. I think this is an especially good group. I feel like we are so lucky / blessed / deserved of having a group here in our Facebook group, which is Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club, where people are so nice to each other, because I just do not see that in other rug hooking groups. Some people are very, very nice, always, because they're normal. But then there are people who are just coven of witches, and I just don't understand. I do understand about this anonymous internet thing and how people misbehave, and I do understand that in theory, but in practice I can't understand it, and I always have found it so difficult to believe and accept that people who like the same things as me can also participate in a coven of witches and be such nasty people. But we never see that here, and we never see that in the Facebook group. So I am very thankful to all of you and very grateful to have you as friends. And it is so much fun to be friends and have things in common, isn't it? Because we all have plenty of friends that we have nothing in common with, that we just endure because we've known them for years. But then there are friends who are new friends who are just friends of the heart. And I feel like that's what we have here. Happy Women's Day, friends of the heart. Linda. Oh, yep. Linda's getting the same because Linda's in New Jersey. Doreen, great to see you. Oh, hi, everyone. Hope you had a good. Yes, so far, so good. Oh, Lori, good to see you. Lori, I don't have the date handy. I'm wondering because, let me get the date handy. Again, I mentioned it yesterday. I want to mention it again. Donna Swanson is having a hook-in on, I'm going to pull it up while my mouth runs. It's in Woodstock, Connecticut, for those of you who are nearby. I asked her this morning, just for clarification, is it an ATHA hook-in? Because then that means more people, different people. And she said, no, it's not an ATHA hook-in. It's just a friend hook-in. Friends just come. So it's not my hook-in. It was already planned. But my intention is certainly to be there to hang out, right? To hang out and to shop. Same as you if you're going. So here it is, Donna. So what did she say? For a date. For those of you who are nearby, please think about coming. It really is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to get together in person. It is April 6th, 10 to 2 at Whispering Hill in Woodstock, Connecticut. So, Lori, I wonder if you're going. and a bunch of other buddies who are nearby. Barbara, great to see you. Happy Women's Day. Crystal, great to see you. You're running to Refresh Coffee. Good move. Good move. Be prepared. Be the Boy Scouts. Be prepared. Kirsten, great to see you. Becky, great to see you. Oh, Cheryl, great to see you. 35 there. It's 40 here. We're really close. Happy Coffee Day, friends. Joyce, great to see you in sunny Pennsylvania. Linda H., happy coffee time in Massachusetts. Debbie, hello, great to see you. Oh no, is my volume off? Uh-oh, did something happen? Let me know if you can. As I'm scrolling down, let me know if there's anything going wrong. I hate it when that happens. You know I'm ill-prepared for that. Cindy, good to see you. Heidi, good to see you. Happy Women's Day. April, good to see you. Heather, good to see you. Teresa, oh, I'm so happy there's a lot of buddies on today. Anne, great to see you. Happy Tuesday. I am looking forward to it so much, too. I can't wait to start talking about it. Colleen, great to see you. Colleen of Beech Nut Studio, beautiful rug cooking company. Paula, great to see you in Southern California. Just catching up on your comments. Kat's Gallery, good morning and welcome. Catalina, good morning. Great to see you. Debbie. Oh, great. You got the dyed pantyhose. What a lot of fun it is to play with those. I'll tell you. I had a bag of them. I'm not going to, unless I think of something else, I'm not going to shoot across the room because there's about 4 boxes of sweaters. I was cutting up sweater charm squares yesterday afternoon for an order. I found a big bag of colored pantyhose that were not the Easter ones, and they were like real jewel colors. I know I've showed them before, but I just thought, oh, I can't wait until I get a chance to hook with those. Maybe more of an autumn thing. It's more of an autumn palette. But I'm also just dying to get back to a few projects that I started. The Cottontail is one of them. And the Mother Nature that I showed yesterday, Mother Nature's Garden, this one, I have it on my frame because I thought I might get some time yesterday to hook it. Wah, wah. But I'm going to get back to that. And I also started the project that goes with the swatch set for this month. So the Mother Nature's Garden swatch set for this month, right? That's either split into 2s above, in the air or on the ground, right? Mother Nature's ROBE, right? That's Mother Nature's ROBE, the set. And that comes with that design I showed yesterday that my daughter Jocelyn designed. And I was working on that for like just a few minutes because I had to see what happened at the end of monk, right? I've been like monking it constantly. And I was on my way out to the gym. So I had transferred it real fast. This is the free pattern that comes with that swatch set. And Jocelyn, my daughter, designed this. And I just think it's beautiful. And what I was doing, you know, I kind of overdid it. This is kind of it looks blue on the monitor, but it's a really deep purple, like a real indigo, nightshady purple. And I've hardly got any of it in because I was just working on it for a real little time. But I like the way that it's coming out. And I think part of the reason I like the way that it's coming out is I'm doing something I don't often do, and that's fooling around with like dip dyed materials. Because normally I go for my solids, but like these are 2 of the pieces that are in that dip dyes. And I love doing this, and I hardly ever do it. And it's so much fun. I know when we do dyeing classes, which I haven't done for a while, I often do this technique. This is a technique that in the Pearl McGown era, they called coat hanger dyeing, because one of the ways that they achieved this is just literally under dyeing something a color, for example, this color, and then dipping it into your pot of this color, and then you can pull it out as slowly as you want. This isn't a particularly ombre one. This is more of a sort of ombre one. But you pull it out slowly, and of course the part that comes out last has the higher concentration of the second color. I think it went this way around, actually. This is the darker color. But they used to do it by pinning it onto like with a safety pin or a sewing pin, onto a coat hanger, like the wire ones, right? And then having a few on there, dipping them in and then pulling the coat hanger out. You could even use the coat hanger as kind of a pulley to do one of these and try to get it to come out slower, right? You wouldn't have it like that. You'd have it like this, so it didn't go back in. And then you'd have this color come out a little bit ombre, brighter on the bottom, and you get this beautiful dip dye. So I know dyeing isn't for everybody, and it just reminded me, because you do get such good effects. Like these pieces here are one piece of fabric, each of these, and it's darker to lighter. And I kind of hooked it in the same pattern so that, you know, the light was on the same side, and I haven't filled this little piece in yet. But it's so much fun, you know, it's so much fun, and I thought I should really be doing more with dyeing dip dye. So maybe I'll do that in the next couple of weeks with things lightening up a little bit. Do some dip dyeing and putting together packs of larger pieces like this or larger, so that you can really fool with it. Because it also is so nice to cut it up, whether it's with your scissors or your cutter, who cares? And then you get like this light to dark, and then you think with each piece, how am I going to put it in? Dark to light, light to dark. It's exciting every time. And it changes before your eyes. It's like magic working with dip dyed fabrics. It's so much fun. So much fun. So I snuck in some time. I was skunking it, doing some stuff I shouldn't have been doing when I have so much else to do. But sometimes you got to get a little bit of a balance going. So that's what I was up to. Susan, your designs have been so great lately. They always were. But I saw, was it a Boston Terrier that I saw this morning you working on? And I could see Susan often posts in the Facebook group, and she does beautiful designs that she sells. And they are extraordinary. And I've bought at least one of your Magdalenas. I think I bought two. Absolutely beautiful. And I do want, I forgot what design it was, but I want it still. Can't remember, but love it and still love it, even though I can't picture it because I'm crazy. So many of Susan's designs are beautiful and often have a nautical kind of feel because Susan is in Maine. But you posted something that, was it a Boston Terrier today? And I love the way that you could see on your backing that you were working on it as you went. You were changing the dog. You were changing the lines of the dog as you went. And I love to see people's working progress. That is such a big thing. Because I noticed yesterday that somebody posted in the group, does anybody ever design directly with a Sharpie marker onto their backing cloth? And she said monk's cloth. And I went and searched through my videos because I remember not last year, the year before, October 2020, that I did a video where I designed this pumpkin with a Sharpie marker directly onto the backing, and it had leaves and stuff around it, and I just drew it right on, and then I hooked it, and it was not a time lapse because I'm not that good. Crystal's that good with a time lapse, but I just like showed later, like a little while, one hour later, and I had done like a little bit of the hooking on it, but I couldn't find the video. It's just not there, and I thought, man, is that video deleted? What happened? Did somebody like report it or something? One of my enemies reported or something? Because it's just not there. So I was super frustrated because I was so excited to say this is a video, because she said I've scoured YouTube and I can't find a video on it. And I was thinking I had a video on it. It's just not there. What other videos of mine aren't there that I haven't noticed? Quite worrying. 3:15 a.m. thought, right? Oh well. Susan, I love watching your working progress. You are so talented. Okay, good. My sound is okay. Good. Let's see. Joan, great to see you. Okay, everything okay. Good. Corrine, great to see you. Wendy and 30, we're all getting the same thing. Paula, great to see you. Corrine, hopefully it stops before the houses start uprooting, right? Courtney, everybody's here. Great to see you. There's our first spammer, Elijah. Excellent. Right, Linda Ann, good morning. Great to see you. So let me just have a sip of this. Not going to slurp. Not going to do it. For real. Not going to do it. So I started working in earnest on the McGown stuff. And I have to admit, sometimes I'm a terrible liar because I wasn't super excited about doing the research part of this. I'm always excited to run the classes because I know it's just there when the time comes. But I started working on this finally, right? Because it's been crazy. And it's a lot of work, right? I started before and I was just putting together some notes and I was just trying to synthesize and figure out, with designing like McGown, I don't want it to be boring, right? Because that's the thing, isn't it? Not that McGown is boring, but I didn't want it to be what one would expect. But yet I do want it to be what one would. So I'm walking this terrible tightrope, right? Because there's so many people who feel, particularly people who take the design like classes, who think yes to Klimt, yes to Matisse, yes to Maud Lewis, no to McGown, because we already know that. Been there, done that, wear the t-shirt. So I wanted to make it so that anybody who signed up for it, whether they felt like it was a good match for them or not, would be so pleasantly and excitedly surprised to find how dynamic and diverse the class would be. And thank God it is. Because there was always a moment of me going, can I make it dynamic and diverse enough to please everybody? Because of course the people who already love McGown and that style of design and that era of design, of course they're going to love it. Just wanted to make sure that the other people are going to love it too. And I think I have found that happy and, dare I say, perfect balance. Because I have had, thank you, Doreen, I have had so much fun working on it, truly. I have been going through all my letter service. You know, Pro McGown used to put out this letter service during the post-war period. Um, and I've been looking at all of her independent books. I haven't been looking at the hardcovers. I glanced at them, but they haven't been a great source for me. I'm looking at all of my folders of her stuff. I've got a lot of bound folders, things that would have come in the mail besides letter service. Um, I've been looking at her books and her catalogs because she was always so eloquent and whimsical about the way she would describe acorns and pine cones and cattails. You know, it really made you love the design, even if it wasn't your kind of design. So I've been really synthesizing it. I'm almost there. Broken down the Pearl McGown, just in case you're signed up for the class, you're considering taking it. Broken down the aesthetic, right? Because the thing about these classes is we're always trying to pull out, look at a broad survey of work, and then pull out the top and most useful tips, tricks, devices, motifs that she used, right? That were in common with most of her work that we can use without plagiarizing, because of course Cushing owns those designs and they're available, so you don't have to do the same thing. The idea is to figure out how she designed, how that look evolved, right? Because there's many facets to the look too. There's not just one look, and to be able to say, I got it. I know how that's done. I know how to put a scroll border on something that turns into a leaf. And it's not just practical when you want to make something that looks like Pearl McGown. It's practical whenever you're designing anything, right? It's practical. Just composition, knowing more about composition, figuring out how these tricks are done, that's just another feather in your cap. Whether you're going to take the class and then design a primitive piece, or whether you're going to take the class and design a full blast Pearl McGown piece, it's not going to make any difference, because the things that you learn are going to apply to both ends of the spectrum. So that was the trick for me, and I've really gotten there, and it has been so much fun going through all of that stuff. And I've put together probably at least a half an hour of the 2-hour class is just looking at borders. I've pulled about 20 different kinds of borders that you could expect to see without being ridiculous and really complicated. From, like, you know, her pieces that were then called Oriental pieces, Orientals, that she sometimes called the sacred rugs, very different borders on those. Sometimes the ones that were kind of Eastern inspired are the same as the ones that are Peruvian inspired. Geographical problems there, but still very similar in style and look. Super fun. And then looking at, of course, florals, but just briefly, and looking how the same, because I know florals are not for everybody, looking how florals, looking at how they work, right? Looking at how they work, whether you want to articulate them in an Art Nouveau style or a Pearl McGown style, doesn't make any difference. Being able to place them successfully into a composition, that's the thing, isn't it? And then you fiddle and fool with it the way that you want, so it's to your taste. But getting them in there is the thing. So everybody should be leaving class, I would say, with 10 or 15 tremendous compositions that they can then evolve, or maybe are just ready to go. But I have so many ideas. I have too many ideas at this point, and it has been fun. I even took out some of my other books from the same period, so like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So many people chimed in at that time with their own catalogs and designs, like Mildred Sprout, who I also love, and she did Rugger's Roundtable, and I have like the complete series of those newsletters called Rugger's Roundtable. I photoed some with my phone and posted them into the Facebook group this morning because they were impossibly cute and sweet. A poem and a song about rug cooking, and then a couple of images that I thought were incredibly just sweet, that I thought people might want to see because I loved them. But hundreds of pages of that too I've been going through, because her style was so like Pearl McGown, and we're designing like Pearl McGown, right? We're not designing as Pearl McGown. So I thought very helpful for me to also look at artists like Charlotte Stratton and Mildred Sprout, who designed in a very similar way. Heirloom rugs in Rhode Island, very similar design aesthetics. So looking at all of those as a cross-section, they are similar, but there are differences. And finding where the differences are, it's almost like finding a weakness. That's where I pull from, because I say, okay, this is where these things cross. That's where we want to be, where it's vulnerable. We want to tap right into that and let the water flow, let the spring flow over us, because we're there. We've figured it out at all those little crossroads. So it's going to be a very fun class, and I am super excited. All those materials are going out tonight. It's tomorrow night, Wednesday the 9th, and then this coming Sunday. And I am teaching the penny rug class in Guilford, Connecticut during the day. And I have 2 hours to travel back for half an hour, so that should be absolutely fine to run the Pearl McGown class for the second time. And that will be it for the Pearl McGown class. But if you are not available either of those days, it is a recorded class, and you still get all the same materials. So you'll just watch recorded, my mouth running, and if people ask questions, which sometimes they do, you'll see those questions. We aren't live, right, when we do that, when you watch the pre-recorded, but it really is the same materials and the same opportunity. So that's always something for people who the day is never good for, because you're having a busy life too. Beverly, great to see you. Oh, you are so welcome. Late doesn't matter at all. I haven't even started yet. And my mom is excited too. Inspired by everything. Oh, thanks, Kirsten. You know, the Designing Like series is really fun, I think. I try to keep the price really good so it's not like stressful. And I hope that it poses questions, thoughts, and leaves you with lingering ideas and projects that, you know, if you wake up at 3:15 almost every day like I do, you can think, what about that scroll turning into a leaf? How does that work? Man, that could work for a lot of things. One of the other areas we're talking a lot about is the Jacobian crewel work, right? Because that was such a big thing for Pearl McGown, and that was such a big thing for everybody in the late 70s and 80s. All of those needlework magazines, I went down a big rabbit hole with that this morning. But crewel / Jacobian / Elizabethan needlepoint and embroidery was such a huge inspiration and such a huge look at that point. Ladies' handbags, quilted clothing, embroidered pillows, Elsa Williams, Pearl McGown. So it's really worth tapping into that. And part of the class will be, let's look at these main shapes that people use in this Jacobian design, this crewel work design. Let's draw them together. So I'm doing a bunch of kind of stills where we do on the screen, draw this, and then the next sort of slide, draw this, add this to it, add this, and then look what you got. It's a pomegranate coming out of a tree with a quilted bottom on it. And it's so easy. It's so easy. It'll be so much fun. Yeah, you can, Heidi. It's there. It's at Ribbon Candy Hooking. You know, I probably should have attached it to this video, but it's not too late at all. It'll be late for you, literally, because it'll be the middle of the night. But absolutely, you can join in that, without a doubt. The classes that I've already done, the Design Like classes, you can always buy them later as pre-recorded, but the live one for you is going to be at like midnight. So it depends on how much of a night owl you are, but I will be there. Yeah, you can definitely check in. As long as I have 15 minutes before the class to forward you the materials that I send, then that's great. And even if not, you could still easily follow the class. So, oh, sure, Susan, you are so good. You're having some tech trouble sitting in your car waiting for your husband. Yeah, that sounds like just one of those tough mornings, doesn't it? Tough, but it happens. What time is the class tomorrow? April, tomorrow the class is at, I ought to know that, oughtn't I, right? I think it's at, Mom, what time is it, 6? There's me asking my mom, and I'm 50 years old. Let me see. I think it's at 6. I'm pulling up my site on my phone here, and of course it's not coming up. It's showing me pictures of ribbon candy. Is that a wind up or what? I only log on to it 2,000 times a day. Let's see, I don't want to hold this up too much. There we go. Classes. I'm not that familiar with my new website, and we are improving it all the time. I promise you. This is the equivalent of Susan sitting in the car with tech problems waiting for her husband. I am not good at anything to do with the computer, and I rely on other people 1,000% for help. So it looks like, yep, 6 to 8, either Wednesday or Sunday the 13th. Both are 6 to 8. So I'm super excited. That'll be such a lot of fun. I truly can't wait. When I hook for myself, you always make changes as you go. Yeah, you know, and Susan, looking at your work, it's so cool to see you marking the background, because, you know, so many people are so secretive and precious about their working technique. And at the end of the day, it's not magic, is it? It's great to see the way that someone else works. And the person sitting next to you is probably not going to work that way anyway. So who cares? But it's nice to see the way each person works, because you think to yourself, when you come to a crossroads and you go, I don't like the way that the dog's head is, or I don't like the way the body's lined up, you know, you remind yourself, well, I've already started, but I can still change it. It's not too late. And isn't it nice in general when it's not too late? That's just a good situation, isn't it? Sure. Oh, thanks, Kirsten. Oh, Heidi, that would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot. I would love that. No pressure. I would love that. So where we left off yesterday, we were looking at this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine, which is really a very nice issue. We looked at a few of the features so far. Remember the doing your background, right? Doing your background. We talked about different kinds of using different kinds of wool to create different effects, painting on wool, dip dye, like what I just showed you with Jossie's piece. We looked at Rebecca White Martin's beautiful punch design for Punch Day, National Punch Day. I think for us in Connecticut, Heather, you just posted in our Facebook group an event for National Punch Day that Liz, I think, is organizing. So that's there in the Facebook group. But if you are having or you know about an event that's taking place for National Punch Day, please let us know here or hi, Pat, or go ahead and post in our Facebook group because we would all like to know and get set up with something to do on Punch Day. Whether you're punching or hooking, it doesn't make any difference, does it? But it's just fun to have an event to look forward to, whether it's over the internet or in somebody's house, right? So I would love to know about all of that. So we left off yesterday. We were about to talk about the fairy tale chapter. This is going to be a series in Rug Cooking Magazine. So this is the first in the series, and this is written by Robin Rennie. And there are some beautiful examples of fairy tale rugs in this. So I'm going to kind of pull from the article a little bit. This is the article I'm going to look at most in this issue because it's my favorite. And I mentioned yesterday because it involved the McGown certified teachers doing this, right? So it was like a challenge for them. And they are, of course, the toppermost, poppermost. And you know that they are going to come up with some unbelievably beautiful work. Their hooking prowess is tippity-topsies. So these are all beautiful rugs to look at. And I just think it was a wonderful contest. The only reason I knew about it in advance was from visiting Donna at Whispering Hill because I saw her piece. And I asked her about it because it was completely different than her normal style. And she said, oh, yeah, it's like a challenge thing with the teachers of the McGown, guild. I know that's not the right word, but, there's a special name for the people who teach that are McGown certified. And she said, yeah, a bunch of us did it, and it's going to be in Rug Cooking Magazine, and now here it is. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Don't forget to like. That is super important. Lisa, good to see you. Good to see you. Susan says, McGown was a fabulous designer and finished her rugs super pretty. Some of her, yeah, she was a fantastic designer. And of course, she borrowed from a lot of the designs, just like Ralph Burnham. She borrowed from a lot of antique rugs that she had recorded as part of her academic work starting in the 1920s. And, because of that, her knowledge of design was vast, right? Because she started by admiring and recording much older rugs. So she had that feather in her hat, knowing what kind of composition, knowing what tricks those people were doing. And then she built on it with designs that were much more appropriate and contemporary, like as time went on. But because she worked for such a long time in rug hooking, her taste changed and the styles changed and she changed and her work changed. And that's part of the class too, is looking at different eras of her work. Because as I've said before and in past coffee times, she traveled to Japan. That was a game changer for her because she got very interested in Asian design, Chinese, Japanese, broken fretwork, all these motifs that she would do that were not completely Asian, right? To be honest, but had the look, anglicized, Americanized versions of Asian art. And they were really, really good. They were mutations, but they were very, very good. So all of this we're going to look at tomorrow too, because it's so, you can make sense of such a huge catalog of work when you break it down into different eras of inspiration, right? Which are basically chronological for her. As time went on, as the decades went on, and she became interested and traveled more, she saw more things and she tried to incorporate more things into her work, and it becomes very varied at that point. And that's exciting for us. Hey, Denise, good to see you. So this article is called Hooked on a Fairy Tale, Once Upon a Time. And it says, once upon a time, bored during the pandemic lockdown, I was spending the day organizing my rug hooking book library. Mixed into the shelves was an old, worn volume of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, illustrated by Kay Nielsen. Almost 50 years old, when I was in college, a friend handed me the book at a New Year's Eve party. He said, I know you love fairy tales. For some reason, I think someday this book will change your life. Now that is foreshadowing, right? If I've ever heard, that is foreshadowing. For some reason, I think this book someday will change your life. Odd, I thought. But we were theater students given to dramatic statements. As it turned out, he was right. Finding that book accidentally created Hooked on Fairy Tales, the golden age of illustrated fairy tales rug hooking challenge. The book has stunning pictures, as do many fairy tale books. I was inspired to pull out other fairy tale books, and soon had a long list of fairy tale rugs I wanted to make. How to accomplish so many rugs in my short life. That's depressing. Don't say that, Robin. I had gotten an email from the Northern McGown Teachers Workshop, there we go, of which I was a member, suggesting since we would not meet due to COVID-19, we consider buying a pattern. I got to change these glasses. This is my problem. Those are my looking at comments glasses. This is my reading a magazine glasses. We consider buying a pattern from Honey Beehive Hooking Patterns and Supplies. Honey Beehive sponsors the McGown Teacher Workshop, and the business would be negatively impacted by the cancellations of the 5 workshops. We could help offset this by buying a pattern. I decided to contact Melissa. Now they are in Manchester, Connecticut. Melissa Pattaccini, the owner, and ask her to create a pattern of one of my favorite illustrations. The inspiration struck. What if I shared the illustration with the teachers from the Northern Workshop and challenged them to do one as well? We could all share the rugs when the workshop is next held. Another idea came to me. Why not challenge all Pro McGown teachers to hook an illustration? We'd never done a project that involved all the workshops. We could then have the rugs travel from workshop to workshop and share our work. For those not familiar with McGown Teachers Workshop, Pro McGown developed a rigorous teacher certification program which trains a rug hooker in all types of hooking techniques, dyeing, and color theory. To become certified, one attends a series of workshops to hone these skills. It normally takes 5 years to complete the process. Once certified, most McGown teachers choose to continue attending workshops to continue developing skills and enjoy working with each other and other talented teachers. I ran the idea past 6 other teachers, and she talks about the process of setting it up. This is just kind of footwork, but it's interesting. It's all in the article. And she said it was then time to reach out to the McGown teachers, and the rules were simple. They could interpret color any way they wished, since many of the illustrations had faded over time, and some were in black and white. But it was required that they remain faithful to the artist's illustration. First, everyone needed a background on the golden age of illustration. It is normally, and isn't this funny? We were just talking about this on Friday night at cocktail night. Isn't this funny? And she's giving accurate years, which makes me happy, because sometimes when people write, and why wouldn't she, right? She's a perfectly viable person. But I do see articles in all kinds of magazines where you can tell that a person is giving historical context by pulling up a Wikipedia page. And that drives me nuts. This is spot on, though. I'm pleased with this, right? So she says the golden age of illustration is 1880 to 1930, peaking between 1890 and World War I. So that's the 1910s. Although some art historians extend it as far as 1800 to 1960, that can't be. We're going to reject that. The best examples are in children's books, but it includes, I bet the reason that people sometimes extend it to 1960 is because the most famous American artist to come out of, arguably, the golden age of illustration is Norman Rockwell, and he was at the end of his career in the 1960s designing more of his civil rights stuff by then, right? I wonder if that is one of the main reasons that people are trying to protract that timeline, which, no. So we've got this set up then. Let's look at some of these. Oh, no, she has a little more. She says, children's books were originally illustrated with line drawings or woodblock prints. With the rise of a middle class in Britain and the U.S., the demand for children's books grew. At the same time, advances in publishing made color illustration more affordable. Publishers began to add colored plates to collections of children's stories. The public responded enthusiastically. Publishers covered the better illustrated. Publishers discovered that the better illustrated a book was, the better it sold. No surprise there, right? That's the same today with magazines and every periodical. Fairy tales were a natural choice for publishers. They were popular with children, considered good for them since they often had moral points, and best of all, they were readily available. for a minimal price, an author could be paid to adapt a fairy tale, since the point was to showcase the illustrations, not the actual plots. For example, the Comtesse de Ségur in this is a book, Old French Fairy Tales 1919, decided on stories to best show off the illustrations. She wished to do that rather than choosing the stories for. So, in other words, I guess she's admitting to having put together a kind of intellectually inferior collection of stories because the illustrations were so good for those stories, right? So, yeah, this could happen too. This is a square peg, circle hole thing. The collectible limited edition would be elegantly presented, leather bound, with the best paper, gilt edges, and beautifully printed illustrations. The everyday edition would be marketed toward the ordinary market and produced with a much lower quality binding and paper. With the publication of Queen Mary's book for the Red Cross, illustrated by Edmond Dulac in 1906, the idea of edition books took on a new life. They became a fashionable way to raise money for charities. I'm just kind of paraphrasing here. Tradition that carried through World War II. Books raising money for British and French Red Cross sold for as much as $500 a volume. That would be the equivalent of $13,000 today. That is generous. And so she says, Melissa and I estimated that about 30 teachers would respond. To our delight, we have almost 100 participating. Some are doing more than one rug, and so over 100 rugs will be included in the rug display. This is fantastic. Okay, I lost my place. I just got so excited. Good thing I didn't fall off my chair. Over 100 rugs. Hooked on Fairy Tales will be a traveling exhibit that will be seen in several locations, not just the McGown workshops. Plans are underway for exhibits throughout 2022, 2023 at least 10 locations, many including talks, classes, workshops taught by McGown teachers. Remember how I despaired of hooking all those beautiful illustrations into rugs? I have hooked 3 of them so far. I have also convinced others to hook over 100 more, so I am seeing my dream realized. Okay, so there's no information yet about where we would be able to see these. So we will certainly be planning a field trip. If you are anywhere near me, I'm going to go straight to Donna as soon as this episode is over and ask her, because she's certainly going to know, and she is one of the teachers. And I wonder if she is having them at her place at some point, because she is one of the people, as one of the McGown teachers, who gets the sort of traveling library of McGown rugs to use for teaching. So let me check with her first, and let me see if we can get some information ahead of the game as to where this might be. Paula says, always in awe. Oh, thank you so much, Paula. Gayla, good to see you. I saw you did another order. I'm going to get it sent out today. Beautiful set. You're going to love it. Thank you so much for all your orders. I really appreciate it. So let me find out more about this. This is a big to be continued. But in the meantime, let's look at some of these rugs. And again, I'm not showing you all of them because I don't want to spoil it for Rug Hooking Magazine, and I don't want to spoil it for you if you read this in bed as soon as you get it. You might not have gotten it yet. So let's come over here and look at our, this is what we were looking at this one yesterday. I'm going to come back to this one in a minute. We were talking about this with Heidi because it has that funny Dutch title that is very, very different in English. So let's see. I think this is the first one I want to show. This is the Tortoise and the Hare. And this is hooked by Susan Nash. And the inspiration, you must know the illustrator, probably the most famous children's illustrator of all time, Arthur Rackham. So he did the original design for this. And the caption says, the time-honored tale of the diligence of the tortoise overcoming the speed and flash of the hare is given an updated London twist by artist Arthur Rackham. It is a good example of a famous illustration used to market a book of illustrations, using stories that were not the point of the book. Susan Nash brightens Rackham's watercolor palette with brilliant colors. And that is true. He worked in black and white. He was like a pen and ink artist. So beautiful. Sometimes a little watercolor, but usually still black and white going toward purples, like oil slick colors. This is absolutely beautiful. This is so well done. All of these characters, so funny. And again, these are all taken directly from the illustration. I always love to see animals dressed up. You can see there's a lot of trash talking going on here between the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise looks like he's fully prepared to bite the rabbit's hand off, but instead he's going to beat him in a race. So this is just so charming, such a sweet, sweet memory of reading this story over and over again. The Tortoise and the Hare. This one is Snowdrop, who we call Snow White, right? So Snowdrop accepts an apple, and this is hooked by Marcy Braun, Braun. The inspiration is postcards for Red Riding Hood's favorite fairy tales, illustrator Hilda Miller. And it says, the caption, an illustration of the scene where Snowdrop is tempted by the witch to sample an apple. It also illustrates the beginning of the transition from darker children's stories to lighter versions. Note how sweet, I was just going to say the same thing. Note how sweet the witch appears. In many European versions of this fairy tale, Snow White is known as Snowdrop. The name Snow White was popularized in America by the Disney cartoon. Marcy, hooking with a number 3 cut, stayed true to the color scheme of the original drawing, but made this charming scene even more charming with brighter values. So she really popped these colors. This is such a clever design too. I'm just looking at the way Snowdrop or Snow White is framed, looking at the body language. Both are, the composition is so great. Snowdrop reaching out, kind of romantic hair draping down Rapunzel style, reaching out for the apple, and a very sweet-faced witch with kind of Dutch clogs, looks like a fur wrap, very luxurious. Her body posture is fantastic too. It's just there's a great relationship between the two characters in this story. And aside from that, the perspective is amazing with those bricks leading up toward the witch, and then Snowdrop being emphasized, her beauty, her purity, her loveliness with this framework of flowers around her, right? All of these sort of creeping flowers creeping up and framing the window, lilacs, and even on the side of the house where there's kind of cypress style trees in the background. So a little ivy climbing up there. It's just pure beauty, just absolutely beautiful. I love the graphic quality of this too, because I know that McGown teachers are qualified and capable of hooking in any style. I love the very graphic style of this. This really is so easy to look at. I love the choice of outlining different flowers in different colors. I really love seeing Snowdrop and the Witch outlined in black, right? Like it is a fairy tale. But then when you start to peek around, you see the bricks are not outlined in black. Some of the flowers are not. Not everything is. It's very selective where the black outline is drawing your eye. And then your eye wanders around just like it would a garden. I love the clogs too, Paula. They are so uncomfortable to wear. I tried doing it in the Netherlands because I did try to assimilate. I swear I did. But they are incredibly noisy. And remarkably, people do wear clogs like in museums. People are less quiet in museums than they are in the U.S. A lot of talking and laughing and guffawing, like it's just a louder, more lively atmosphere in general. Not quite as reverent, but those clogs, boom, boom. I mean, people wearing clogs going up and down hallways. It's like your teeth are rattling. It's so loud. But they are lovely. They are lovely traditional shoes. And maybe I should have tried a little bit harder. I ended up painting them for Sinterklaas and putting them by the fireplace so Sint could come and give us some cookies and unwrapped treats every night, you know. So Snowdrop, so, so, so pretty. And this is Mother Goat. Let's come here and see what's Mother Goat about. I am not familiar with this story. Mother Goat Goes to Market, hooked by Martha Lowry. Caption, fairy tale illustrations were often used as postcards and collected by children. Oh, isn't that nice? That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? This postcard from Vienna, Austria, from the early 1920s shows the picture of Mother Goat going to market from the Grimm's fairy tale story, The Wolf and the Seven Kids. Oh, there they are, coming out of the Dutch door. Isn't that cute? In the story, Mother Goat is warning her kids not to let in strangers. Of course, they don't listen. They let in the wolf and he eats them. When she comes home later, Mother Goat is dismayed but is resourceful. She tracks down the wolf to the bank of a stream. She cuts open his stomach and lets out the kids and fills his stomach with 7 large rocks. She then pushes him into the stream where he drowns. He didn't die of having this impromptu surgery, but he did drown of those rocks. She takes the kids home where they are put into bed with no dinner for not listening and opening up the door to strangers. Martha stayed faithful to the illustration as she could, replicating every detail. It is hooked in a number 3. This is just gorgeous. This is just beautiful, isn't it? That is basically the Little Red Riding Hood story, right? That had evolved into the Little Red Riding Hood story. Interesting. Oh, does your dad wear them? Oh, isn't that funny, Heidi? Yeah, there's, my brother-in-law wore them. I mean, I think he probably still does. It's super heavy, super loud, but he always vouched for the comfort and durability and practical sense that it made to wear them. I think it's one of those things you got to get used to young, right? Funny. Um, I just love this illustration. I think this might be my favorite one. Now that I know that the story really is the same story as Little Red Riding Hood, this is just a great composition. I'm such a sucker for framing out the top like this. It almost looks like an illumination, right? Like an sort of ecclesiastical illumination. I love seeing like a golden top with little strawberries, right? That's very Pearl McGown, very Pearl McGown, but really well done, and it really puts you in the mood of a fairy tale. Look at how lush and green that background is. So there's the story. The little kids, the goats, could not be any cuter. The mother goat could not be any cuter. I love how she's standing in that circle. That's a great composition device. She's casting her shadow rather ominously on the house while she's speaking to them, but they are not going to listen. And when your eye kind of wanders, you see all those greens on the ground in between bits of pavement and rock that match that lush greenery in the background. It's very, very good. This is a piece that could have really suffered from having a lot of grays, but she went way toward the steel blue, more toward steel blue gray than true gray. And I think it really helps because it makes it look like it glows. The mob cap, the apron, the steps leading up to the woods, the shadow, they're very blue leaning toward purple. Really good, because these illustrations, like as we've heard, often in black and white. This was a color one. Some of them were faded. Sometimes it's hard to find a starting point for your color palette. But I love the way that this blue is shifted much more. Sorry, this gray is shifted much more toward blue. Exceptionally pretty piece. And here comes, oh, wait a minute. Yep, I got it. Here comes the Goose Girl. So this is hooked by Sybil Osika, and we have done shows on Sybil because she is extraordinary. Sybil Osika, and here's the commentary for this piece. In this tragic tale, a princess is forced by her maid to trade places as they travel to the princess's wedding. On arrival, the evil maid has the head of the princess's talking horse cut off and hung by the city gate. Oh boy, this is come on, what movie is this? It's one of those mafia movies. What's the one where the head is in the bed? By the city gate. The princess is forced to work as a goose girl, and every day as she and the geese leave the city, she laments, "Alas, Falada, that you should hang there." Okay, I see. So she's speaking to the horse. The horse responds, "Alas, my princess, that you should walk there." Nobody gets suspicious about the talking horse head for a long time. Eventually, someone notices. The princess is restored to her proper place. The horse gets his head put back on, and they all live happily ever after. Sybil took this black and white pen and ink drawing and hooked it in stunning colors using a number 3 cut. This is a very odd story in The Godfather. Thank you. Indeed, this is a very odd story. Isn't it funny how there are such sort of tinges of other stories within these older stories, right? There's probably a handful of stories about severed horse heads, but these are the only 2 that I know of. So, there she is, the princess, being forced, and who knows what the backstory to that is, to pose as her maid and walk under the dead horse's head every day. But it is beautifully, beautifully articulated, and I like the composition was already dictated, right, because it's from an illustration. The colors are unbelievable, and we know that Sybil Osika is well known for her color palette and her ability to execute the most exquisite effects with bold colors. So the dress of the girl is just beautiful, beautiful red, shining and glowing. I love the interruption of the geese kind of in shadow and in silhouette, right, because that looks more of a design choice. I love the way that the ivy is clinging to the wall on the left. I love how Sybil didn't feel that she had to connect every strand of ivory, right? Because that becomes nauseating when people really overdo it with literal details. It looks so much more stylized and smart like this. tracing some of the vines against like the, the little wooden stems and branches, and some of them just kind of hanging out in the middle. It's very suggestive, evocative of growing ivy, and perfect the way that it is. The ivy droops right down next to the horse's head. In case you didn't notice it, it's good to draw attention to it because it is a bit unexpected, isn't it? And out the door in the distance, beautiful example, typical Cibolo-Sica of directional hooking. Horizontal hooking in the grass and in the sky, beautiful soft color changes that give the impression of distance and light. Absolutely beautiful piece. Just gorgeous. So let's see. I did Goose Girl, and then I didn't do every one, so I'm just checking. So we saw this one yesterday. Let's look at the details of it. This is Sleeping Beauty, or The Clean or the Pure Sleeps in the Woods, literal translation by Chizuko Hayami. And we have come to expect Chizuko's work to be absolutely stellar, too. One of the things, this is going to sound very, very lowbrow. I love everything about this. I love everything about this. Let me read the caption first. A lovely book cover for the traditional Sleeping Beauty tale. Shizuko hooked in a number 3 cut, giving her own twist to the colors. Gorgeous. One of the unexpected things that I love about this, besides all of the hooking, the composition, the light, the bright, everything, the filigree lines that connect to the little spindle vignette at the bottom, the top of the book incorporating those Art Nouveau flowers scrolling down, the cameo of the Sleeping Beauty, the clean one in the forest. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love the white flowers. This is the cover of the book, but she did it so perfectly and beautifully. And yet, one of the things I want to point out is this border. Have you noticed that as a border, why don't we do this more often? She has got quilting fabric sewn to the edge of the hooking, and that is her binding. So when all of these conversations come up again and again and again, and they do come up every day, don't they? Whether they're in our group or someone else's group, how do I finish my binding? Are there any videos out there on finishing binding? Fasten your seatbelts, get ready. There's a lot of videos on binding. They all are a bit overwhelming because it is a bit overwhelming. Why don't we talk more? About binding by using, I know you have quilt fabric. I know that you do. By using your quilt fabric as your border. Done, right? This wouldn't be great for the floor. I mean, it would be as good as many things I can think of. But I mean, if you're hanging it up anyway, if you're not putting the clean sleeps in the woods on the floor and it's going up on the wall, you may as well using that quilt fabric as your border is so smart because it almost looks like the end papers of a book, doesn't it? They're always this dense patterning, very, very small scale, very different scale than the piece itself. And that's part of what adds interest, isn't it? Very small scale flowers of cotton material are framing this piece, and it really, really pops it. It really pops it. It's almost like you're looking at an illustration in a book, and you can see the little edge of the hardcover book around. You can see where the paper wraps around it. It's nice printed paper. You can see how that wraps around. It almost looks a little trompe-l'oeil, like you're actually looking at a book. This is so smart. Doreen says, even with the 3-cut, look at that tiny spinning wheel. I know. Look at that tiny spinning wheel. This piece is 24 by 32. It's not massive. That is a tiny spinning wheel. Look at the beautiful embroidery on the Pure One's pillow, right? These beautiful stitches, almost like Norwegian-looking stitches or frogs. Super, super pretty. The color changes in those ferns at the bottom are amazing, immaculate. And one of my favorite things about this piece is that, and I don't know the cover of the book. I can't picture it in my head, but I'm very excited that one of my favorite colors is pink, right? For sure. But I'm very excited that pink is not being used here. Around the cameo, those roses are like the palest, peachiest coral. And then the other roses that we're seeing are poppy red, super, super bright. I think the temptation for most people would be to do a pink rose, and I think it is extra interesting and exciting with this teal green sort of peacock background, and behind the cameo, the Wedgwood blue background. I think it is very interesting to continue this trend of using unexpected colors, right? Not the evergreen, not the straight on carnation pink, but very different colors. They're a little off center. Creates interest, doesn't it? Interesting conversation. Nancy, great to see you. Linda Ann says that's such a fun and creative way to bind a rug. Absolutely. You definitely have quilting fabric. I think we all do. We all buy, and and I'm not gonna start, but I mean, I do. Some of my quilting fabric I saved, of course, even though I'm just not a great quilter because I just don't enjoy being on the machine. After all those years in college making costumes and stuff and being on the machine all the time, I just don't enjoy it, right? I just use it to finish edges and things like that. I just don't enjoy it anymore. I make Joss's little tops and that's it. Halloween, that's it. But I saved some quilt fabric, and I always hoped that I'd have something to do with it. And this is something great to do with it. But also, I've been using it with my latch hook backing to hook because you can see more of it. You can see more of the surface area when you're using that backing. And I use it for that too, I have to say. So I'm very glad I didn't part with my favorite K Facet stuff and Brandon, what's his name, Malby stuff. Because now there seems like there's lots of uses for it. You see, when you hoard things, you do get rewarded by the universe later. Sometimes it's sooner, sometimes it's later, but you can be sure that the universe will reward you for your hard work and show you the light and tell you a new way that you can use something that you already love. Linda says, thank you for sharing. Oh, you are so welcome, Linda. You are so welcome. And it's only my opinion, right? Because when we talk about art, even when I went to school for art, I often sat there and thought, well, that's your opinion, not belligerently, but just like sometimes very slanted conversations about art. And if you have a different opinion, I always hope that you'll say, because I love hearing other things. And that's how I learn too. So it's always fun. It's always fun to talk and snowball. Thank you, Linda. So let's see. I don't think I took any more from this article because I wanted to leave some for later, some meat on the bone. But I did use for our thumbnail today, I actually used Donna's piece because she sent it to me over email. Now, here comes the $20,000 question, except not. Let me come up here, and there it is. There it is. So this is the thumbnail I use. This is Donna's piece that she made, and she just took a picture of it on the table and sent it to me, and we will see it in a future rug cooking magazine. But I wanted to look at it now because, again, hers is my favorite because it's her, and I saw it in person and I loved it. What story is this? Does anybody know? Because it looks like a little clearing in the forest where there is a good shakeup of different kinds of creatures, and they seem to be focused around this oversized rat, including a human. So I'm just wondering if anybody recognizes this story. I would love to know. I think this is so beautiful, this soft kind of pistachio green. I love the outlining. I love the color changing on the trees. Oh, that's okay, Karen. Good to see you. I love the sort of little rocks or footsteps that are done in different shades of green, more of a myrtle green, isn't it? The Cushing myrtle. And I love that low setting sun. It reminds me of that song in the cool, cool, cool of the evening. All the animals gathering in the woods and the sun is setting. But I don't recognize this story, and I wonder if you do. Look at the owl's face in the background, how alert and attentive he is. It is so cute. It is so cute. Joan says, tell my husband it's okay to hoard. I will. Send him to me, Joan. I'm very good at enabling. I'm very good at making sense of these things. That is awesome. It is awesome. And I can ask her what it was. And I could have asked her this morning, but I thought I would wait and see if any of you know, because that's even more fun. Turns into a bit of a guessing game. So I'll leave that on the screen for you to look at for a minute. I'm just flipping through because all the articles in this issue are quite nice and quite helpful. But one of the articles at the end caught my eye because they used to do a segment in Rug Cooking Magazine that was called The Canadian Connection. I'm not sure what they're calling it now. Let me see. I'm about to tell you because my hand is almost there. Wait a minute. I wanted to share it because it was very different. Okay, Woolly Good. Okay, so I'm going to come out of here for a minute. And again, let me know if you... Oh, Thumbelina. Is that the... Oh my God, of course it's Thumbelina because she's very, very small. Thumbelina, Thumbelina. How does the song go? Something little thing, Thumbelina dance, Thumbelina sing. Thumbelina doesn't matter if you're very small. When your heart is full of love, you're 9 feet tall. That's it. All right, that makes sense because that rat is huge and Thumbelina is quite small. Nice one, Amanda. Nice one. That has to be it. That is so cute. It is crystal. Such watery colors. It's such a limited palette too, right? It's very heavy on brown, green, and orange. Little bit of yellow, but that ties into the orange. Really pretty. And again, she's gone toward that soft corally pink. It almost looks faded like the illustration would have been. Very smart. Very smart. I wonder what that translates as. Domalincha. You know what? I think that's the same Heidi, I think that's the same thing. Domalincha. I think that might be the same thing. I'm looking at the lincha at the end and thinking that must be Lena. Yeah, I think it has to be. Good going, you all. Good going. You all are so smart. I noticed that she was tiny. I even remarked on it, and I couldn't get there with my brain. Oh, thanks, Doreen. That was in one of my, I don't know what I was listening to, I don't know what album I was listening to, let's put it that way, that I would have been listening to that song. But Heidi says, a little girl that lives in the house with a mouse. Oh, okay. But you know, Heidi, that might still be the same story because of the clean one who sleeps in the forest. It could still be the same story. There's always such a literal translation of it in the Dutch language that it could be the same. Unless you're thinking of unless that is more of a Beatrix Potter. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to find out, though. It'll be a fun mystery. So this Canadian piece is not actually part of this Canadian connection. It's part of Destinations, which is one of their current features, right? So Destinations, Woolly Good Rug Hooking Retreat and Festival for Canadian friends and travelers, 2022. Retreat 1 is June 25 to 28. Retreat 2 is 29 to July 2nd. Public Hooking is July 3rd. And Festival is July 4 to 9. So Upper Island Cove, Newfoundland, Canada. This article is about this event. And this looks amazing. So I wanted to mention this. This is the photo that they're showing for the event. Let me share this with you. I think this is incredibly beautiful. Lisa Meacham, Meecham, is an accomplished artist in multiple media, including furniture and fiber. Repurposing and upcycling are regularly deployed in her work of creating functional pieces of art. She leads others in design and mat making and founded the Woolly Good Rug Hooking Retreat and Festival in Upper Island Cove, Newfoundland in 2020. And the hashtag is as this is not your Nan's rug hooking. That is hilarious. Instagram also at woolly_good_hooking. Also regular website www.woolly, which is WOOLLY good.ca for Canada, not .com, .ca. So this article is about this retreat, and it certainly looks like it is going to be exciting and varied. This is an extraordinary piece of work that Lisa is holding up, and I would fully expect this event to be extraordinary. It is so late. Let's look at the last thing in this issue that I wanted to look at together so that tomorrow we can move to something new. I haven't identified it yet, but we'll get there. So there's another feature in Rug Hooking Magazine that's called Dear Beginning Rug Hooker, and this article is called Baby Bird. And it says Hook, Proddy, Felt, and Stitch for Spring. Project and photography by Gwen Dixon, D-I-X-O-N. And I thought this was just a stunning piece. This is so pretty. It has a fairy tale quality. Little robin's eggs in the nest. She is using all kinds of wool, roving. She works on linen. She's doing all kinds of stitching, a little bit of needle felting. You see those three-dimensional little eggs in there. I love this three-dimensional quality. I love the sort of stained glass Art Nouveau quality on top with those branches cutting right through the composition. I love the cut. Oh, excellent. Did you see what just popped out? Oh, that's just perfect for a rug hooking group. Exciting. So I just love, it has, to me, kind of if you're familiar with the collage artist Joseph Cornell, who worked with boxes within boxes, shadow boxes. It has a little bit of that, but it is so sweet. She has a few, if someone wants to report that, I think he's going to, I don't know what he's going to do. One can only guess, pretty predictably. So these are some of the, in the pages she takes you through step by step, doing that little Proddy bird's nest, doing those little needle felted eggs, using the wool roving to do needle felting directly on that linen backing. Again, directly on that linen backing. You can needle felt directly on your backing, doing all kinds of different methods. This is a real sampler, right? What a lot of fun. This is the last photo that I'm taking out of it, but I'm just trying to make the point that if you are approaching this as a beginner, which is the intention of the article, she really is showing you oh, Crafter's Grimoire, good to see you. She's showing you so many different techniques in one article. And I just love it when people are this free and open with their teaching, right? It's so interesting to look at someone's working process, Susan, with something like this, because she's doing traditional hooking, she's using so many different fibers, she's doing directional hooking, and just a total mashup of techniques. She's showing you how to sew her little leaves with a simple running stitch on the far right. It is just a sweet piece. It is a really sweet piece. And as with many things in Rug Cooking Magazine, you do get the pattern to use. They're not putting a centerfold pull-out pattern anymore. They're giving you the pattern that you can put on your printer bed if you know how to do scanning with your printer. Print it out, and then you can blow it up at Staples or do your grid system or however you like to blow things up, and use this for personal use only. There's many patterns in this issue, as with every issue. Different things that you can use for personal use. Of course, thank you, Pat. Yeah, that was an extraordinary one. He was going a bit far. The Yankee Puritan in me is coming out. He's going quite far with his naked without clothing online strips. I love that little bird too, Mom. So cute, such a nice piece. It was a great issue of Rug Cooking Magazine. It was a small issue for sure, but it's a great issue. And I really enjoyed looking at it with you. It's fun to, like we say, like Lisa said, it's fun to look at stuff together and tear through it and make comments and share ideas. So I don't know what we'll do tomorrow, but I will figure it out before tomorrow. It'll be fun. It might be that we start looking at the Mildred Sprout Ruggers Roundtable newsletters, because they are so charming. I didn't realize there was so much in those that were, dear Mildred, I'm struggling with my background. Can I use more than one color? Dear Mildred, how does one come up with a design for a nursery? All these sweet questions. It really is a moment in time. All of these periodicals that I have, it's ephemera, isn't it? I'm touching the paper. I'm going to have to record it and scan all of it. It's hundreds of pages, but I mean, it is like it's falling apart like nachos in my hands. I'm hungry. So, maybe we'll start looking at that, because that is a mountain of things to look at, and it is so quaint. That might take us to Friday night cocktail night this week. In any case, I will be on tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. No doctor's appointments. It seems as though I might live. Thank God. I'm not joking. Crafter's Grimoire said, I love the limited color palette with a variety of the stitches. Me too. Me too. And isn't this the case with so many things? I tend to be, in the way that I design, in the way that I work, very colorful. And it might be, a way of like my multiple personalities coming out, or who knows what. Freud would know, and he's not here. So I don't know, but I tend to overdo it, and I work the same way in the kitchen. When I say work, I mean just make a hot mess, make a messapy. I just put everything in. And then I always say to myself when I'm eating it, this isn't as good as I thought it would be, because, same with my hooking, because I tend to overdo it. And sometimes it's like, if you just synthesize what you're doing, simpler is best. Same with cooking as with hooking. Do we have a rug there? Simpler is often best. And using a limited color palette doesn't have to be monochromatic or duochromatic, but using a limited color palette is sometimes quite smart. And that is why in the McGown era, everybody hearkened back to the color wheel, the sacred color wheel, because you needed a reminder. You don't need 100 colors. You just need some colors that are dark, light, dull, bright, and contrasting colors, opposite colors that would complement each other. So all interesting. Third pair of glasses in one episode, right? There we go. Oh, Paula, you are so welcome. Oh, Nancy, you have the Ruggers Roundtable. It is so cute. It is so quaint. I don't mean that it's cute in a patronizing way. It's just such a moment in time. It reminds me of looking. I have a huge collection of children's books on games for parties from like the 1910s to the 1950s. I don't go much later than that. And do you remember that periodical? It was called Pack of Fun, I think. It was a small little book like the size that Yankee Magazine used to be, and it was for kids, and it had pages that you could pull out and do like origami and make things. But it was It was like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And the art in there was so cute and so quaint. They always had sweet ideas, a few simple recipes that kids could execute. It reminds me of that. A lot of original small drawings and little vignettes that are drawn that are so sweet. Celebrating holidays we really don't celebrate anymore. And the kinds of questions that come up in Rugger's Roundtable is so cute. They're so cute, because they're the kinds of things now that we wouldn't even remark on. You just look it up on the internet and be done with it. One that I read said, like, here's somebody had sent in a picture of her dog, and the dog was her helper, and they had to describe the whole thing because they weren't able, in terms of technology, to reproduce the photograph that the woman had sent to Mildred. And Mildred was describing what this woman sent. She said, "Oh, so and so, I love the photo that you sent of you and your helper, your rug hooking helper. Two happy hookers," was the caption that she wrote on the photo, this woman. And Mildred describes how the dog was like leaning over what sounded like a floor frame with her jaw and her two paws on it, but she describes it in like excruciating detail just because the photo can't be there. And I thought that is so cute to take the time to do that. It was just it has such a feeling of friendliness and mutual sort of helpfulness about that periodical. So we'll start looking at that tomorrow. I think that would be a lot of fun. Amanda says, how do you feel about mixing dull and bright colors? Amanda, I think you must. Dark, light, dull, bright. Using all four at once is the magical recipe. It has been since the Egyptians and the Phoenicians and the Greeks. When you think about like ancient color palettes, dark, light, dull, bright, it's not my invention, but it works always. So I think you must, unless you're doing something real specific. When you're doing something real specific, like the book we were looking at about monochromatic rugs, then that's different. That's a game changer. But if you're just doing an ordinary rug and you're pulling your colors and looking at what will work, you have to do dark, light, dull, bright. You don't have to, but I think if you do, you will find that weird magical glow that you can't account for and you don't know how you did it will be present because you've represented dark, light, dull, bright. It really does work. So I think that's a huge thumbs up. Says, happy day. Yes to all our friends. Celebrate women today. We deserve it. We're the super glue of the world. We say that a lot. We say that a lot amongst ourselves, my mom and I at home. If there's so many things that if women were in charge of, there might be a lot of ill feeling and a lot of bee talk, but there wouldn't be a lot of other things, right? Because women handle things just differently, just less aggression sometimes, right? I'm not going to get political and talk about what's going on in the world because it's too scary and depressing. But yeah, I wish women were in charge of a lot more things, or at least equally footed in a lot more things. Heidi says, so happy looking. You're so happy when you look at the show. Thanks to everyone. Oh, you are so welcome. And all the lovely women here, happy Women's Day. Enjoy yourselves, indulge yourselves, have fun. I will see you tomorrow. And you can reach me at ribboncandyhooking